Hey, everybody. Good to see you. Hi, everyone. Make sure you introduce yourselves in the chat as people are joining us.
Yeah, I will do that.
Thank you.
Jody, a ver, let me see.
All right. Introduce where you're from in the chat. There's Cynthia. Hi, Cynthia.
Hello.
You're going to go second after, let's see, McKenna. So welcome. Tough days these are, and heartbreaking every night and all day. And we're looking for nourishment. I show up just for the nourishment of community, because what we're watching is so hard. McGregor, it looks like you're on a train. Oh, you're such a good gal. Trains, yes. So I think I'm gonna get started because we have a lot to do today. Especially because we have some guests, and I really want you to hear from them more than me. So just a little reminder that feels like a few months ago, we invited CODEPINK chapters to our local peace economy call. And over the last 20 years, we've been celebrating Mother's Day outside of the White House, in front of power, scratching at power, calling on power to do the right thing. And what we know is the power won't do the right thing until we force it to. And that's building power in our communities, building communities of trust, building communities of care. It's what this local community peace economy work is. It's what the local CODEPINK chapters are about. So kind of merging the two and saying, so on this Mother's Day, let's integrate local peace economy into what we do. Let's integrate how do we care for the community as we're thinking about what to do and as we're producing what we do for Mother's Day. I have to say there were so many beautiful photos for Mother's Day that I just cried. We only have a few of the locals with us tonight, but I'll actually try to find, while we're talking, the report back that Grace did with lots of the photos to see if I can share it here. But we're going to hear from three of our local leaders who did integrate and do integrate local peace economy into their organizing and their work, and hear, the lessons they learned, what maybe is coming out of it that they could share with us. So as always, I just want to open with a piece of culture and have you put your feet on the ground and take 2 deep breaths with me, just to come here in this moment together, to be present with each other, to be in gratitude for each one of you, for all you do for peace. That in this moment when others are turning their faces away, you turn your faces towards. So deepest gratitude as we take this last breath and come to presence with each other. So in my community here, I'm working with a lot of people and working to break their war economy habits and pull them into peace economy habits. I would say the war economy addictions are very hard for them to break. And one of my friends wrote this poem last night, so it's very fresh and very personal. They are also Palestinian. The ache of being awake. There is a grief that doesn't wear black or speak at funerals. It hums under the headlines, waits for us on the bus stop, wakes up in our throats before we know the words. It mourns not the dead, but kind of agreement, an unwritten, unwitnessed understanding that goodness mattered. that humanity nodded in a shared direction towards an idea of decency. Now the map is missing. We are adrift, no stars to navigate by, the shoreline of right buried beneath slogans and fenced off by profit. Cruelty arrives in a suit, selling poison as a remedy. Truth, flailing like a fish slipped out of grasp, while we chase dopamine as if destiny, while the planet cooks behind a paywall. They call it normal, this clicking past genocide to post our brunch, refreshing the feed while children vanish. What is the split screen life? Famine on one tab, the promise of eternal youth on the next. And still they ask us to smile. Stay pleasant, stay promotable, stay on brand. Grief is off message. But this ache, this bruise in your bones, how can we not recoil when atrocity becomes routine and empathy is flagged as threat?
Oh, man.
But this ache, it means you remember. It means your compass still works. It means this world hasn't gutted the whole of you. Don't let it swallow your softness. The sorrow you carry is not a defect. It is witness. It is refusal. It is the unquiet part of you that hasn't surrendered. And maybe the first revolution is not a roar, but a remembering the subtle art of staying human in a machine that feeds on your forgetting. So, as we know, this work takes us to that grief. And I thought Raheem did such a beautiful job of nailing it all the way through of where we are in this moment. But that, yes, this unquiet that we feel, this grief that we feel daily is because we are human, is because we are loved, is to be remembered when it feels so heavy. So, you know, I come here to be with you with my grief, to be in community with those who care and who love, and always looking for something to do. I think I've been in the streets for the last week nonstop. And Tim wrote before this because he heard about our March to Gaza that's launching in June. And so, you know, signing up, doing the thing we can do as, you know, hopeful things are starting to happen. 500,000 were in the streets in London. 100,000 were in The Hague in red. The next day, England, Canada, France said, you know, threatened Netanyahu, whatever that means, until we see action. But it's like a next tiny step that gives us like a possibility of hope. And I think, you know, any act that can move us towards those possibilities of hope. First of all, we flood just the sense of hope in life into the universe. So one of the things is the March to Gaza. It's a big ask. I'm just putting it out there because Tim asked me to. But like the Gaza flotilla, like our Gaza trips that we used to take in 2009, where 1,000 people went with us to Gaza, here's another chance to get closer. You know, it's going to be dicey. Who knows what's actually going to happen? Like Anne Wright and Tig went to Malta and didn't get there. But the attempt to go, Anne and Tig says, is so important because it shows the world is willing to stretch. So there's the March to Gaza. It launches in the middle of June. And, you know, sign up now because it will take getting a visa and, you know, signing up and thinking about it and getting ready and doing all the prep work. But a little easier than that is also the Fast for Gaza. And Cynthia, which we'll hear from later, is starting hers tomorrow. I'm starting mine tonight. She's starting with Vets for Peace. I'm doing the global hunger strike with the students that I've been sitting with at UCLA. And for me, it has been hard actually to eat when I watch these young ones starving. So I kind of think that the hunger strike for me is a balm of not having to look at food and having a capacity to feel closer to what people are experiencing. So those are two opportunities to engage. And now I'd like to hear from our guests. Oh, the other thing is I'm going to have to leave early because it's a global day against Chevron, and I've launched an action here in LA, and I've got folks showing up with the banners we made, but I have to show up after the first hour, so I'm going to have to leave halfway through, but you're in the fabulous hands of dear Marie, which I know you all love. So I'll start with McKenna from our New York chapter to talk about what they do and have been doing in New York. And they use a lot of weaving and culture and teaching. So McKenna, if you can turn on your camera and take off your mute and join us, thank you.
There we go.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. So for our Mother's Day action, this was kind of my first experience taking lead on something. We had heard about other chapters doing really inspiring work with drives, and that was kind of our original idea. After like looking through some different organizations to partner with, some mutual aid organizations, Nadia, our chapter leader, was connected with Adama, who runs Africana, which is a nonprofit based in Harlem, where they focus on helping asylum seekers and refugees and immigrants from primarily their demographic is focused on Black, Muslim, Arab populations, and helping them transition into the city, helping them secure employment, food, housing, clothing as well, and help with legal affairs once they're here. And we offered to do a drive with them as our original idea. And then Adama told us that what she really needed was some folks to like come and lend their hands and organize a bunch of donations that they had already received for their clothing drive that they had recently done. And yeah, it was a big job. It was just a lot of stuff kind of crammed into a garage, basically. So we got our gloves on and our Lysol wipes, and we did what we could in terms of organization. And it was a bit of a flying by the seat of our pants when we got there, realizing what a big job it was. But I think, we got a lot done in the time that we had, and got to connect with some of the asylum seekers that were also participating. And yeah, we were really inspired to work with that organization, as these are just difficult times in particular for this population. And really happy to get to connect with Adama, who is really has done really incredible work in terms of doing like hundreds of meals in just the last few months. So yeah, it was a great opportunity to connect with that organization, and good to connect with a few members from our chapter as well.
Thank you, McKenna. And I think one of the things I want to note that you really modeled well was asking them what they needed. So thank you for modeling that and speaking to that and showing up for their needs. Perfect. I think that's sometimes what we forget. We think we know, and it's really what the local peace economy habit I think that most of us need to learn is the one about asking what you need and filling need. So thank you. That was beautiful. And is there anything from that you're thinking of doing as a follow-up?
Yeah, we're gonna contact Adama again to see if we need a round two. It was, like I said, a very big job. And mostly following up as well with like the CODEPINK members that came through, because they all did really amazing work. And yeah, in the future, we might move things. I think maybe we didn't get as big of a showing as maybe we would have liked, because it was the holiday and it was a bit far for some folks. So we're gonna probably think logistically a little different about it next time, but it was a good learning experience for me in that way.
Thank you. And connecting to people that you wouldn't connect to otherwise. I also think one of the things that's, and this happened with us here with the fires, is to really understand what it means when you're giving something, what the back end work is around all of that. You know, there's not just the giving, there's just so much entailed in the organizing and the making it functioning. So it's a good place to enter in the complexity of, you know, what isn't simple as we aim to serve. So thank you, McKenna. And thanks for all you do in New York. You all
Thank
are
you.
rock stars. Thank you.
Thank you,
I
Jody.
wonder if you could share a little bit, because you know what you all do there is so connected to local peace economy. If you could share a little bit about your pop-ups, and thank you.
Yeah, yeah, the pop-ups have been going on about monthly give or take, for about a year. And we are chapter leader Nadia is a rock star in terms of organizing them, and she gets we get artists, local artists who are kind of in our political sphere, in our you know, anti-war, anti-imperialism ideals, who can connect with that. So we have artists come through, and then we have a panel as well, getting some political education at these events. And then we also will have artists come and sell some of their work, which is also, you know, some going to like Palestinian folks, and getting food as well. We one of our events was at King of Falafel, which is like an amazing Palestinian restaurant. And yeah, had also an event at a kind of anarchist bookstore, like very, very cool different venues where we get to connect with different communities. They're all around the city, so different bureaus that we are getting to connect with and do outreach for the chapter with.
Thank you. I like the idea of traveling around the city. I think that works in some of the bigger cities because it's so hard to like cover the whole city, and a way, you know, to share. We're just now breaking LA up into like little districts, which is working much better. It's actually, you know, probably a lot for Ryan because we've got now probably 7 things a week, but more people can be engaged when it's more local. So cool. Thank you so much for sharing. Can we all give McKenna a big round of applause for her leadership and for diving in and making it happen. All right, so the next person I want to bring up is Cynthia Papermaster from the Bay. Yay, Cynthia, welcome. Cynthia has been leading the Bay for, I don't know, over 20 years. And she's been there, you know, inspiring people, angering people in power. She's a #1 enemy of Nancy Pelosi and family, which is, you know, go for you. She So what Cynthia took on was that we've done this march across the Golden Gate Bridge as part of CODEPINK, but like how to really bring the local peace economy values into it. So Cynthia, if you want to share what y'all did, that would be great. And if you did you want to share some? I did, let's see. I did just put the report back in the chat that has some of the photos from the Bay there. If people want to click on that link, it's the report back from all what the locals did. I have to say, like, was it Wisconsin, man? They like rocked it. But or we can make you a co-host and you could share. What would you prefer, Cynthia?
The only thing I was going to bring that's new is that we had some video of our Dabka dance.
Oh,
We had a dance lesson, Dabka dance lesson, which is Palestinian traditional dance. And but I didn't find it, so
oh, okay. So never mind. But
yeah.
also that you taught people, right?
Yeah, I didn't teach them. We had a Palestinian, a young person, teaching us the dance, and they had a drummer with them who was keeping the time, and there was a recorded music. So that part of it was just incredible. Everybody got involved, regardless of whether they were in a wheelchair or, a little kid or, everybody wanted to try the dance. It was really fun. Yeah. So, yeah, we went up to the Golden Gate Bridge as we do every year, and the weather was perfect, spectacular weather and spectacular views from the bridge. When you walk out there uh, with your signs for peace, the cars honk in acknowledgement and support. It's occasionally you get, the other kind of reaction and isn't so nice, but mostly people are really eager to say, yes, we want peace. Yes, we want to stop the genocide. We had a lot of Palestinian people with us, which is incredible, just wonderful. We had a lot of activities besides walking out and back on the bridge, back on the plaza, which is a kind of a gathering place at the entrance to the bridge. We had some activities for children where the kids could make these things that you can play with the wind, and they're kind of like sparkly, and the kids were loving that. One of our people had a big message board that they had illustrated with Palestinian poppies and an illustration of the Golden Gate Bridge, and people could write messages there. What were their messages for Mother's Day, for peace? And one of the people who wrote was Eduardo Martinez, the mayor of Richmond, who came with his wife. He wrote an incredible poem, and I'll share it at some point. He was responsible for Richmond being the first city in the United States to pass a ceasefire resolution. And he is a friend of ours. He's a friend of CODEPINK. He's a wonderful man. Also, we had a poet, a wonderful poet that Jody brought to us, who read very heartfelt poetry. It was a little difficult out there in the wind, and they didn't have a very good sound system. I wish that I'd been part of the more part of the organizing team, and I could have brought our good sound system with me, but we made do. It was fine. And then the food. I just want to mention that really quickly. I had met this Palestinian woman and her daughter at an event, a fundraising event for Project Hope. Project Hope treats water inside Gaza. They treat the water and then they distribute the water around in these huge trucks with big tanks on them. And I hired her actually to come and cater I think. I also baked, and people brought wonderful offerings of food, but we had Palestinian food. And she is an incredible, incredible cook. It was so delicious. Everyone was very happy eating this delicious food together and just being together. And then finally, I'll mention that I brought bouquets of flowers. I brought like, I don't know, lots and lots and lots of pink flowers with me, and everybody got a flower. I went around and I asked other people to hand these flowers out to folks, and they really loved that. They really felt appreciated. We really wanted to appreciate the mothers, appreciate everyone everyone who came, and be together in a kind of wonderful community. It was just incredible. I have something to show, which is this. I bought this a long time ago, and I don't know if folks can see it. It says, it says, we are all we really have solidarity. And this is a San Francisco artist that made this. I love this so much because I really believe in that message. We are all we really have.
Thank
Should I talk about the hunger? Should I talk about the fast? Or?
Yeah, if you could. And then Sam, if you want to get ready, I'm going to call on you next. Okay.
So I did sign up for the Veterans for Peace sponsored 40-day fast for Gaza, alternately called Fast Against Genocide. And my fast is starting tomorrow at the UC campus, where I'm hoping that Melissa's great press release will bring the media out. And I'm doing an open-ended fast, and it's really hard for me to talk about because I'm sorry, because it's open-ended. That means that I'm asking the university to divest from companies profiting from the genocide. And the students have been trying to get them to divest for 2 years. They haven't made any progress yet with that. The university is very, very slow in responding to every single request that we have made. I've been working with them too, because I'm an alumna of the University of California. We want them to tell us what they're invested in. And we want them to have an ethical investment policy that would prohibit their investment in companies like Lockheed Martin and Boeing and Raytheon. So I'm highlighting that in my fast. That is what I'm asking for. And I need to see some progress on that before I can start to eat again. And that's one of the things I'm asking for. I'm also meeting with the Stanford students on Friday. Stanford students are doing a hunger strike. And I'm going to go down there and be with them. So that's it.
Thank you. Thank you, Cynthia. And maybe you can do a little video tomorrow and share. Thank you so much.
I will.
Valerie, you're next. Val's next. And then we'll move to Sam. We have so many active locals here. I'm so excited. Thanks,
Yeah,
Val.
thank you. And thanks for sharing all that, Cynthia. Sorry, I think that's your name. But yeah, I'm in CODEPINK Chicago, and I also do stuff weekly with a mutual aid group in Chicago. It's like a coalition across the city, but I specifically do it for Logan Square, if any of you are familiar with Chicago. But when we had our like monthly chapter meeting, they brought up that we were doing this mutual aid related event and that we needed to think of something to do. So I proposed doing something with my group because that seemed like an easy path. I'm already involved with them. And so we had like an initial idea, and I took that to the group, the mutual aid group. And we thought of something that was more, my original idea was a lot of input for less like outcome for our neighbors that we serve. And so we thought of something that was more easy to put on and that would give a high output for our neighbors. So we ended up doing a diaper drive. So each week the mutual aid group like gets groceries from big grocery stores and like local small grocery stores or restaurants. We get food from them throughout the week. It's brought to one of two warehouses in the city. One's on the south side and one's in the west side. And then we reach out to the people who we give food to and ask if we have the money for it. We ask them to tell us 2 to 3 items that they want us to get from a store that's specific. So they're going to get a bag of like produce and food, and then something they can choose themselves. Like often it's diapers, like tampons, cleaning supplies, garbage bags, things like that, or like shoes for their kid. And we bring that. And diapers is related to Mother's Day. They're also very expensive, so they're really often requested. So we held a like picnic type thing in a high foot traffic park, Wicker Park, and told people to come by, get some food, bring diapers or money, because again, we can just buy the diapers ourselves and it creates the same outcome. So we did a bunch of outreach, like just on our social media, and then like the CODEPINK Chicago members also just like I did a lot of outreach to my friends and made them come. And it went like really well. I was surprised by how well it went for how little effort it took to set up. We just brought some tables and food.
Wait,
And
and
put
tell them
flyers
how
out.
many diapers you had.
Yeah, so we raised $500, and then we collected like someone counted 5,000 diapers. So it went really well. A lot of people showed up. There was a lot more food than I expected. I was really stressed about the food, so I made someone else plan for that. But we had so much food, but all of it was ate by the end of the day, which was crazy. And public engagement was a lot more easy and successful than we thought it would be. There was like a plant sale that happened to be next to the area that we planned to stay at. So I think that made people more interested in looking at what was around. And we were able to like see mothers walking by with strollers or a baby and ask them if they wanted free diapers. And then we were able to like do our light political education about mothers in Gaza and also tell them about the mutual aid organization. So I think we were able to educate a lot of people who were just kind of like happily walking around about what's going on in Gaza and how it's affecting mothers there, and then about this group that they could get involved with or know about locally. Some of the big takeaways we got were I was surprised by how many people brought diapers rather than just money, because it takes some effort to go get something at the store, and it's pretty easy to just pop out your phone and send some money to an app. But I think people like to be told to bring something specific, like they like to have like a task. It maybe feels like they're contributing, internally more than just sending money somewhere. So I think that's something to take away. If you guys ever organize something like this, people like to be told like a specific thing to bring. Let's see what else I wrote down. We wish we had bigger signage. You can take a look at the pictures from the article that Jody sent. And we kind of just had a table, we had a Palestinian flag and some papers out, but we wish we had bigger signage. Just because if people were more apprehensive, it might look like we're a private like picnic, just having a picnic in the park. But yeah, hold on. It was, again, we were all really astounded by the success. So we're going to plant something adjacent for like July. We're thinking about like a school supply drive, but we definitely need to connect with somebody. We're hoping to do something on like the south side. We need to connect with the group there and ask what they want, because again, it was really easy to just give the diapers to the mutual aid group with no effort on their end. So we, again, like McKenna was talking about, we want to ask what another group needs and go along with that rather than just doing our own thing. But hopefully that all made sense. But yeah, that's basically how it went, and it went really well. So
Do you feel that hi Valerie, I'm Marie, the local peace economy coordinator. Do you feel that that the mutual aid, the sort of the ability to like present with we're approaching our community with gifts and with help, and we've asked what people need and that this is what they said they needed. Do you feel like that like enabled like deeper conversations once did it build trust? Like, were you able to like, because I feel like sometimes like people are suspicious about like if you're giving me something, like what are you trying to get out of it? Like, did people come at you with a little bit of suspicion, or did that disarm the suspicion?
no, yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I think because we were like approaching people also with like a giving mindset. We were like the mothers that are walking by in Wicker Park, it's like a well-off neighborhood. Like they don't need diapers, but we were asking them like, do you guys want this? Because we have so many. And I think that concept of like having people bring something specific rather than just donate money, they like kind of know, instead of just giving money and not really getting to see where it goes. If there's like diapers, obviously we're not just gonna throw that away or like sell them. That'd be weird. So I think they
Right.
know that that's going to someone. Even
Right.
if they maybe if they have some suspicion that it's going to someone who doesn't deserve it, like obviously that's not how mutual aid works, but
Right.
uh I think that kind of eliminates that suspicion if they do have it. And I think we were able to like everyone who approached us for the most part was like pretty easygoing and like they care too. So that wasn't too much of a issue.
That's
But I
really
think
great.
making it just not just solely cash donations is helpful in that.
Do you have any plans in the future? Like, has this like prompted conversations in your group about doing things in the future like this?
Yeah, for sure. Again, the success, we were kind of like I knew it would go fine, but the success kind of outdid our expectations by a lot. So we're for sure like thinking about like, well, that was pretty easy. It's just for most people, it's a matter of maybe making some food and then showing up or bringing like a table and then showing up. So we want to definitely do that again due to how successful it was. And now we have like a blueprint of like how to go about it. So yeah, for sure.
That's really great.
Yeah,
So thank you for sharing, coming on and sharing.
for sure. Thanks
Really
for inviting
appreciate
me.
it. Um, Sam, would you like to jump on and talk about your?
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yep.
All right, cool. Um, so we ended up we have a local tulip festival every year. It was actually the 77th anniversary of our local tulip fest. And so yeah, we had our local Palestinian Rights Committee group come to us and we worked together on most things over the past year. And so ask about like tabling, like vending basically at this tulip festival. And yeah, so it was like our first experience hosting something like that. It was like 2 9-hour days pretty much, and we had like a whole schedule of team members like helping out throughout the days. We had information about Code Pink and we had information about the Nakba and we had information about our upcoming Nakba Day rally. And it was also, there was also like a part of our tabling consisted of fundraising for camps in the West Bank. And yeah, it was, the first day was rainy and I would say there was like a steady flow of people, but not quite so much or not nearly as much as the next day when the weather was nice. It was constant like engagement. We did, I will say, like, we had a really great banner made. It tied like right into like the Dutch Tulip Fest theme. But then we also had like 3 or 4 at either day, 3 or 4 Palestinian flags like flanking, the corners of our tent. So yeah, it was probably more the Palestinian flags that drew people to us, but a lot more people learned about Code Pink and what we're doing. And some people weren't from the area. I was asking people where they were from or like if they were from, if they worked with New York State. I don't know if anybody here is familiar with the Break the Bonds that is, I think, initiated by Jewish Voice for Peace. But yeah, so we would talk to people who are state workers about the Break the Bonds campaign so that they can be aware of like upcoming calls to action. And if people weren't from the area, I mean, I must have talked to at least a handful of people who weren't from the area, but were from either like New Jersey or Vermont, who were really interested in Code Pink. And hopefully we're going to go home and maybe get a hold of somebody about starting their own chapters. So
Oh, that's great.
it
That's
was,
really,
yeah, we talked about
yeah.
the local peace economy. It was really just kind of, whoever came up, like what was their thing. There was so much information to share. So
And
yeah.
tell us about like what future things do you have planned? I know that the Upper Hudson Valley is very active. Do you have like future?
Right now we're planning to have a rally, Let Sudan Live, in like the first week of June.
Mhm.
And that's not something that happens in the area very much. So we're gonna do that. And we've also been invited to table at the local like art history museum
Oh,
on
wow.
Juneteenth. So
Nice.
those are the things that are happening in June that we know of.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, aside from that, we're not really planning. There's another protest happening coming up, but we're just maybe co-sponsoring, not planning that one. So
Tell everybody about the Tulip Festival, because that relates to the culture of the Upper Hudson Valley. Do you know anything about the roots of it? Because I mean, the Upper Hudson Valley was settled by Dutch people very early on, and a lot of the place names in the Hudson Valley are Dutch. And so, but do you know the history of the? I don't know it. I
oh,
literally
it
don't know.
sounds like you know a little bit more history than I do.
Oh,
I'm
I went to
originally from Maine.
college. Yeah, I
So
went to college in the Hudson Valley. So like I know that, but I don't know I don't know about the Tulip Festival, so I'm interested. So
sorry, yeah. I'm like a transplant. I've lived here for close to 15 years, but not I've never went to the Tulip Fest until last year. Last year we had a vigil where we had like toddlers' clothes laid out in front of the tulips, and like some of us were holding like basically like lines with children's clothes, and then other people were handing out poppies with children's names written on it. And that was last year was the very first year I'd ever been to this tulip. It's a huge thing. Like, I don't know, tens of thousands of people like run through the like biggest park in the Capital District for 2 days because of these tulips. But I've never known any of the history. I'm sorry.
oh, no worries. I put you on the spot.
I'm not a native, not even close. So
Does
I,
anyone gathered here? Any of the people other than the speakers? Do you have questions for the speakers? I know that Cynthia had to leave and Jody has left, but if you have any questions for the people who had these actions, maybe they could, answer them. So if you like, just unmic yourself and unmute yourself and talk. If you have questions.
I just want to, I don't have a question, but I would just like to affirm what Valerie's talking about. The mutual aid networks in Chicago are amazing. I live in the San Francisco area now, and we are way behind Chicago in this. And it's really community based, and it's really listening to the community. And Valerie could tell you, well, I'm sure, a lot more than I could, but it really helped me a lot get going on my work on racism, reproductive justice, and support for Palestinian people.
Yeah, I feel like it like astounds me how like a big and interconnected it is. It started in 2020, like due to the COVID and like people struggling so much during it. And like through these like USDA food boxes that there used to be during the pandemic. It was like a pandemic thing. But yeah, it's like such a big operation. Like all I do is I show up on Saturdays and people put bags of food and stuff into my car and then I deliver it to like 10 people a week. Um, but yeah, but it's like so much more than just like I do that and then like hundreds of other people do a little task as well. And then it all comes together and it's like crazy. And I don't get it. Like I don't know how we have like relationships with these grocery stores that we get food from. Um, we like rent huge warehouses. The two warehouses we have are so big, and I just someone like manages like how we rent it, and like we have these community fridges. We like reach out to businesses to partner with them to have our fridge like on their property. So it's like all like such a big group effort, and it's like I find it very easy to for people to join into. Yeah, every time there's a need, usually someone can fulfill it some way. I think just because our network is so big, but it really grew over a long period of time. And I think the pandemic, I assume that it grew pretty rapidly in the pandemic because people were so motivated there was a lot of highly motivated people that wanted to help out their neighbors. So maybe that's where it's coming from. But yeah, you're definitely right. Like I don't understand how it operates so well and so vastly. But yeah. Yeah, we have like a free store on Saturdays. That's what George just said.
Yeah,
You just walk, anyone can come in and like take what they need, basically.
we have a free store in the town that I live in, and it's a state, it's evergreen, like it's there forever for good, and you can come and go, and they have certain hours on certain days, and um, but this operation sounds much more complex. And what I've seen, so I've done some work in mutual aid, and I started that free store, and the transition town in my town has been really active in doing mutual aid projects. And what we have seen is that in times of need or crisis, that these things really flourish. But sometimes when there isn't a need, like if like the town or the neighborhood is not really, there isn't really demonstrable need, people are far less interested. So it makes a lot of sense that it would intensify during COVID, that because people had need. I mean, a lot of people lost their jobs, a lot of people couldn't access things, so that makes a lot of sense. So great. It sounds wonderful and very well organized if you have warehouses, right? Does anyone else have any questions or
I would just
observations?
say it takes time to build this up. It didn't happen overnight, and people really worked together, and it was a lot of work, and it still is a lot of work, but there's a lot of joy, and Logan Square, where she in, is one of the strongest communities in terms of that, and it's community supporting individual communities. And it's a perfect model for a lot of other places, smaller places, larger places, etc.
Yeah, it sounds great. Yeah, it really does. Steve, did you want to talk?
Yeah, I would like to know if I could, just to find out from some of the other groups how they connect with other groups. Because I'm from Philadelphia and we're just getting off the ground. We've only been at it for about 6 months, and just Sunday was one of our bigger. I think there was 10 of us. That was our biggest showing so far out in public. And I always try, even when I go out by myself, to just meet up with other people and find out about their groups and just how to connect with them. And I was just wondering if anybody had any secrets on how to do that, because that's what we would like to do, keep connecting with other groups. So.
I know for me, like I found the Logan Square Mutual Aid, I found them on Instagram, like just searching for somewhere to put my like political feelings. Um, but I know some people in Philadelphia that I know, like I feel like I've seen them post about mutual aid groups there before. So I don't know, I use Instagram for that, but if you give me like your email or something, I can ask my friend there and I could give you some specific groups you guys could reach out
Oh, that'd
to.
be great. Yeah, well, you can use the Philly at
Mm,
codepink.org website or email site. Yeah, you can do that.
yeah, sure.
I can
And
access
also
that.
and also the local peace economy website. Not It's separate from the Code Pink website, but it's local peace economy. Um, that if you put in Philadelphia, the Philadelphia region, like you can look for groups specific to Philadelphia.
Okay.
Like specific, you can ask for like if it's about food or mutual aid or things like that. Um, and you can get a good sense of like what's around. It's by no means complete, but there's a really large smattering of people in Philadelphia and the suburbs that
Oh, great.
are,
Yeah.
yeah.
Thanks.
I think a lot of it can be individual connections. Like, for example, I can connect you directly with Jay Cohn Gilbert and Kevin, I'm blanking his last name, co-founders of White Men for Racial Justice. One's in Philadelphia, one's in suburban Philadelphia.
Okay.
They will know other people. And I'm just saying the individual ties and the community connections make it a lot easier, I think, as well as what is being said. I don't disagree with using social media where you can and other sources, but there's so many connecting points. I think there's a bookstore coffee house in Philadelphia that what's his name? He he focuses on racism and connection with Palestinian solidarity. Hyphenated name, was a professor at Temple and is now at City University in New York, where
Oh
they tried
yeah,
to get him.
Mark
Mark
Lamont Hill.
Lamont, Mark Lamont Hill, Mark Lamont Hill.
Yeah,
He's a
he has a bookstore in Germantown.
right.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
I'm just saying that's a connection point for people,
right.
so people that are there can connect here with more people.
Sure.
Yeah.
There's a lot of these kinds of things. People, I mean, individuals.
When our transition town was first starting about 15 years ago, we would go to other nonprofits that were aligned, mission aligned, and ask them kind of in the same way that we encourage people when you're like for mutual aid or when you're doing these actions, that you go into the community and you ask the community, like, what do you need? How can we be of service? And we would set up meetings with them and say, we would love to like help sponsor an event you're holding, or we would love to co-sponsor, co-run an event. And we would love to publicize you on our social media and like really offer to be in service to their needs. And in that way, we made a lot of really good connections and people began to be sort of cross involved with the transition town and these other organizations. And that's how we built coalitions in media.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
So we're getting to the point where we need to do breakouts. And for those of you who are new to the way we do breakouts here, we send you off with a prompt. I have the rooms are a little bigger this time. I put people in rooms of 5 or 6, but it all depends on who shows up. And they are open-ended, so meaning you can stay until until you need to go or the conversation feels like it's waning. I'm not going to shut them off. I'm going to stop the recording when I open the rooms, but we just do these open-ended gatherings in our breakouts because we want people to be able to connect deeply and to really spend time, in community and getting to know each other. So, so that said, I want to thank all of you for coming, and I hope you'll continue to come to our every other Wednesday night meetings. We really appreciate having you here, and it's been lovely to share space and time with you. So, thank you.